Hey everyone, now we're going to take a look at top woods, which might be the most exciting thing for a customer to choose and probably the most daunting to pick out about what they want, and it's all personal preference. Shed some light on us, Pete.
Yeah, well, as he said, it's a lot of times it comes down to personal preference of what you like, and I deal with the top as a more of an aesthetic aspect rather than a tone aspect because I don't use a very thick piece. Some luthiers use very thick tops, so that actually impacts the sound a lot more. But I don't. I use it pretty much as a more cosmetic and aesthetic aspect to it. It does make a difference in the sound only because you're laminating a piece of wood onto another piece of wood, but it doesn't generally impact it one way or the other. So in other words, using one species to another isn't going to drastically change your sound.
Not like the body wood does.
Right. Not like your body wood or your fingerboard is going to change it more than your top wood would.
Let's take a look at some of these. What do you got in your
Yeah,
hands?
so obviously there's different price ranges. They typically start at about $300 for something pretty basic. But if you're wanting to get something really special, they there's obviously a lot of stuff to pick from.
So what are you doing now? You're putting a little
I'm
oil
just going to
on?
put some
Look at that pop.
some mineral spirits on this. This is myrtle. And you can see that, with that enhancement, this is pretty much a pretty spectacular piece of wood.
That is a gorgeous piece of wood.
And this, I can't stress enough, being someone who has to buy this stuff on a regular basis, how hard it's getting to get really good stuff anymore because they're not logging in the areas where this wood is available. The people who do have it are hanging on to it and also selling it to big companies overseas are buying as much of it as they possibly can to take overseas to make guitars over there. So it's getting hard to get, and it's one reason why I try to buy it the way I do and keep enough of it in stock so that my customers have a continual decent selection of the stuff.
You have a massive stock over there. I mean, you're set for years.
Well, years, if it's not as long as you would think,
Right.
Unfortunately. So I'm always having to continue looking for stuff.
So what do we got here?
This is some redwood, lace redwood burl, just like this piece here.
Look at that. Hit that with some oil.
Yeah, I don't know if you
Mineral
can.
spirits. Wow.
That gives you an idea of what it's going to look like when it's got a finish on it.
That's so 3D. It's ridiculous.
It doesn't really get too much better than that. That's pretty spectacular stuff.
No, is that an estate series top, you think?
Probably would be in that range. I mean, somebody obviously can purchase this as an option, but the options, are anywhere from $800 and up because of the rarity of it and because it's getting harder and harder to get.
Wow.
And I try to make sure I have enough of it in stock for way down the line that people 10 years from now want to get some of this. It'll be some around. So I don't actually offer a lot of it out every year. I try to stock as much of it back as I can for future.
That's stunning.
So this is how a lot of times it'll come in in billet form. This billet's been cleaned up. It's ready for book matching or resawing, which is what this process has been done. But you can see how phenomenal this stuff really is once you add this stuff to it.
What do we got here?
This is more of the lace redwood burl. This is just phenomenal stuff. I can't believe it half the time when I dig it out and look at it. It's just like, whoa. You get a good view of that.
Let me zoom in on that. And that's the type of wood when you buy your bass, you just get it, you lay it next to you, and you stare at it for about 12 hours before you even play the thing.
Pretty much, yeah. I remember doing that with some of the custom basses I bought back in the day.
Yeah, I did that too. You get lost in that wood grain.
This is some rare burl here. This is madrone burl, which is also from that area, Pacific Northwest. And this is a hardwood. It's a very hard wood to dry and season properly without it doing a lot of weird stuff to it. A lot of times it will check. It'll internally check because it doesn't dry. It's not very stable. So I have a few people who know how to dry it properly, and I get some really, really nice stuff. But this is just Another phenomenal piece. This hasn't even been sanded yet. I only have maybe about 5 or 6 tops similar to this that are, you know, so it's very rare to get pieces like this. You see that?
Yeah, I see it. It's pretty similar to the redwood.
In some ways, it's harder and denser. So that, you know, it's much harder.
A little bit more attack on the bass, maybe.
Yeah, it's going to add a little bit more compression to the overall sound at the very end of the day. But
so it's amazing seeing those pieces without the mineral spirits, and then you throw that on there.
Yeah,
wow.
It's just
beautiful. What else we got?
Again, another piece from that area. This is, well, almost everything I have here is from that area.
I see Buckeye coming up right there.
Buckeye. Don't look at that yet. This is box elder burl. And this is one of my favorites just because it's just so unusual for this type of wood. That color with that much cream and yellow overtones. But the burl in it is just phenomenal. It doesn't get much darker than that, but
so it's like a maple in its overall color.
yeah, it actually starts off like the Buckeye actually starts off this color.
Oh wow!
And then it's spalted, so it actually has a bacteria or a fungus that gets in it that actually does that, and that's actually done by the people who dry it. Typically, okay. You know, they control the spalt.
Let me zoom in on that one.
Yeah.
It's just so many different ways to lay it out on the top.
Yeah, there's different ways to.
That's really where the art aspect comes to this, right? Is figuring out what nature just gave you and how you're going to put your outline on it.
Exactly, because you know you want to capture as much of the figure as possible. So this is probably my favorite part of the process in building a bass is getting something like this, looking at the wood itself, and then taking it to the point where I actually put a overlay on it and get to see what it's going to kind of turn into.
It's arguably the first thing people look at when they have a bass in their hands.
Yeah. Now, like I said, I have other choices. This doesn't necessarily mean your bass is going to sound better. This is not the reason you buy really expensive woods. If you want a decent sounding bass, you don't have to have fancy woods on a bass. I want to make that clear because I don't upsell my stuff with tops on it just to sell expensive wood. I'd rather not sell it if I could hang on to it longer.
Right.
I would.
All right, let's talk about this Buckeye.
Yeah,
that's one of my favorites.
This is a pretty phenomenal piece.
Now it's not a good tone wood, right? Because it's pretty cork-esque, very porous, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't consider it to be a tonal wood because it doesn't have, you know, it's kind of at this stage. It's spalted, it's somewhat soft and hard. There's a lot of voids in it, so it doesn't have an acoustic property the same way something like a nice piece of redwood or maple would have.
Based on the varying consistency, is that really hard to work with?
This takes a lot of time to deal with because you're actually usually have to fill
right.
a lot of these imperfections and bring them up to the finish. If there's soft spots, you have to fortify those. So this is expensive because of what it is, but it's also expensive because of the labor that goes into actually making it into a finished product.
Right.
Also, it's just a premium item all the way around because let's look at that. It's just incredible.
Yeah, it is.
What if I have an overlay I can put on that real quick? Let me just show you something real quick with this because it's really pretty cool.
Okay. So this is the process of how
I can look. I can look at this and then kind of show the customer essentially what they're going to see. That's pretty hard to argue with. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's done. Print it.
Yeah, I don't know if this will enhance properly, but wow.
Oh, hell yeah, it does.
Oh. Okay. These people pay good money to see this video, so we got to give them their money's worth.
Yep.
Wow. All the rich blue colors are caused by that fungus. And the people who spalt this, who dry it and spalt it, they have to know what they're doing because there's a point where they have to take it out of that and stop the spalting process.
Or completely fall apart, right?
Well, it'll all turn that color. You won't have any of this variation.
That is awesome.
This is probably about the most perfect spalting level that you want. You want as much of that as you can get in there. The combination of the yellow and the blue, and then some of the nice overtones.
Wow. There's a happy camper right there.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal piece. So, wow. I love my job.
I love your job too, Pete. What else we got?
From the Pacific Northwest, we have some myrtle. This one's nice too. I'll show you that in a second. That's Chilean laurel burl, which this is also called bay laurel. But that's a Pacific Coast wood as well. There we go. You can really see it now. Wow. Ouch.
It's slightly turned on over here running the camera.
Okay, I won't look up. Wow. Wow.
Take 2 of those.
Yeah, that's pretty phenomenal.
Too bad you have to put pickups and knobs on there.
Yeah. And of course, it can be book matched another way for another view.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
You know, and that's about pretty phenomenal as well.
Sure is.
Jeez.
Fun stuff. All right. Let's see that last one you got.
Yeah. Like I said, this is Chilean laurel burl, so this actually is from another part of the world. This is a lot like Buckeye in the sense that you've got to work with some of the imperfections and the inclusions. But the way it comes out, I really like it. Wow. Typically, if somebody wants to order this kind of stuff, we go through a process to locate these tiny pieces, you know.
Right.
But these are at the top end of what I do, so it's a little bit of a process.
You know, at one point the customer starts to say, "Okay, hook me up. I'm in your hands. Make it happen."
Yeah,
Because you know better than most. You know, a lot of the time, I would say.
yeah. If they want something phenomenal, I'm not going to waste my time showing
So
them.
there's a little face
yeah,
down in there, and that
Yeah.
one I'm zooming in on. A little gremlin face or something. That's great stuff.
Wow.
Thanks so much, Pete.
Yeah,
Thank
no
you for
problem.
letting us look at that. I mean, this is going to be a highlight video for sure.
Yeah, this is some of my sweet stuff. So you know, don't show it to everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.